Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 90 of FPL Blackbox. My name is Az, and I'm joined by Mr. Mark Southerns. How are you, Mark?
Good evening. I'm very, very well. I'm looking forward to another episode of Blackbox. Episode 90. Can you quite believe it? 10 more. I'm trying to work out when we hit the 100. Well, 10 episodes time could be around, I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, God, it's hard to know with the international break and stuff.
Something special for the 100? What should we do?
Before the end of the season? Is it 10 games?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy. Yeah. There you go.
Loads of time to change our ranks.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about that on Closing the Gap. Yeah, we've got lots to cover tonight, haven't we? Madness with a double game weeks at the moment, isn't it? It's crazy.
It's a big time at the moment. I think everyone's kind of panicking a little bit. There's big decisions to be made. Players that a lot of people have got and players that a lot of people want, and some popular players, dropping as well. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I kind of been wavering on the Haaland question. I'm flip flopping from.
I'm not.
Are you not? Okay. Well, that's good.
My mind is set.
Okay, well that's good. We're definitely going to get onto that, and we're going to talk about double game weeks. I guess we should look back on Gameweek 19. We should definitely do that because I did better than you, so we should definitely look back on Gameweek 19. But at first, of course, as always. Given the success of Blackbox, relative success that is, a word from our sponsor first of all, Az.
A word from our sponsors. Never gets old saying that. Yep. Our sponsor for this week's episode is NordVPN. Fans of Blackbox? Familiar people with Blackbox? I guess we have some fans for the show.
Yeah, I think we've got a few.
Got a few, yeah. They'll be familiar with Nord that we plug quite a bit. So why use Nord? It's a VPN. You can hide your IP address and location, which increases your privacy online. You can connect to different countries online and get their TV programs like you do with a certain. Did you watch any Columbo?
Just one more thing. Of course I did. Christmas is not complete without at least one episode of Columbo. The only issue is which episode do you choose? It's a tradition in my house. That's when I have my Columbo party at Christmas.
I love that they pay us to do these plugs. This is me and you mostly talking about Columbo. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Sorry, yeah, we should have said that.
And to everyone watching.
Anyway, what do I need to protect my IP these days?
Well, NordVPN, it is the fastest VPN on the planet. It is the best reviewed VPN on the planet. There's 24/7 support and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. Just go to nordvpn.com/scout and you get a nice deal on the VPN plan. Help your online privacy and connect you to some interesting TV across the world.
And help us out, of course, which is
help us out.
All very nice. Right, Game Week 19. Should we look back? I'm going to enjoy this. Is your team? You struggled a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I want to change the subject actually quickly just before we.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go on. Have you got a surprise for me?
Well, what's your thoughts on like the FA Cup and stuff? Because I've kind of checked out a little bit, and I'll give you an example of how I've checked out. Have you ever heard of mudlarking?
I'm sorry.
Have you ever heard of mudlarking?
No, I haven't. No. What are you going to hit me with here? Go on.
Well, mudlarking is where people go to the Thames or other riverbanks and they try and fish out treasures in the riverbanks, right?
Right. Okay.
They find these beautiful ornate clay pipes. That they used to use.
I don't know where this is going, but
before times, and and you need a license for it as well.
Right.
Now, how do I know so much about mudlarking? You might be wondering. Well, it's because I was watching a video on it because I was bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Chelsea, Man City were on at the same time, and I not only did I not know about it, I forgot that there was any FA Cup games whatsoever, and I made my transfer last week.
I know you said to me, and without the FA Cup even finished, I couldn't.
Yeah. I forgot. I had a complete blackout. I completely forgot the FA Cup was even taking place, and then I forgot each individual game, and I've watched absolutely nothing. So my question to you, my elaborate way of mudlarking, which was completely pointless, is what do you think of the FA Cup? Because I don't really care, but I feel like I should care.
Yeah, I mean, I care because I want to see if the team sheets affect my transfers, and I care if it will be a factor in double game weeks. But in terms of using it as a gauge of form, I'm very wary because we saw the mighty Forest go out to Blackpool, for example. So all ends of crazy results could happen. But yeah, I do find it, it's a distraction, I guess. I guess it's odd, isn't it? Because FPL managers have started to, well, I have seen for a number of seasons, the cup competitions, it's almost like Premier League managers see them, as in they're unwanted distractions that kind of take our mind off what we really want to focus on, which is the Premier League. And that's exactly what it feels as a fantasy manager as well, isn't it? I mean, it's I think it's going too far to say it's a nuisance, but it's a kind of it is an unwanted distraction, isn't it?
Well, that's kind of how I feel, and I don't want to feel like that because I love watching football and enjoying football, and watching the World Cup and watching the Champions League and stuff is a real highlight. But I find the two national cup tournaments, I just can't get excited about them.
Well, I mean, I think they're great to watch. I mean, even though Forest lost, I enjoy it when the minnows knock out the bigger teams. So I enjoy some of it, to be fair. And obviously the later rounds when it becomes very competitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a bit like that. And I think there was a lot of football on, wasn't it? Because of the way the games are spread out. And obviously because the Premier League is also spread out. So yeah, I hear you, but I haven't given up on it as a source of entertainment.
That's good.
No.
That's good. And Forest are in the Carabao Cup tonight, right? Against Wolves.
They are. They're playing as we they're about to kick off. So I'm going to be somewhat distracted. Scarpa starts. That's the big news. If you're a Forest fan.
You're excited about him, aren't you?
Trey excited. Yep. So we'll see what goes on, won't we? But yeah. And City's team sheet, is the City team sheet out?
Yeah, Cancelo plays, which is not ideal.
Oh dearie me. Oh
Yes,
dearie me.
not ideal at all.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to that team sheet in a bit. But let's talk about Gameweek19 just briefly. Take us through that. This is an out-of-date team sheet because I haven't got the Andreas obviously score from the Chelsea home game. But yes.
Oh my god. Yeah. So 44 points for me. I went for Shaw over Cucurella last week, which is about the best move I've done in all season. I think because. I think before I would have gone for Cucurella, but Shaw has been amazing. So it's Kepa in goal. I finally brought him in. I've been not that impressed with him, but I think Chelsea's lack of defensive resolve suits him, making saves and things like that. So he came in for the double. Really poor against City, I thought he was.
Tomorrow night's game still to go, as you have for Andreas. Yeah.
He's got to smother that ball when that cross comes in. I was absolutely fuming.
It was a distinct lack of courage, wasn't it? It's the kind of thing that we've seen from De Gea in recent games where he doesn't want to put himself in harm's way, shall we say.
You'd be annoyed if you were playing five-a-side. You'd be annoyed that your people hadn't played.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
I've seen you play five-a-side and that would be harsh, but yeah, go on.
I played last night for the first time since the hernia op. And I was so bad. Like, it was just embarrassing. I had no touch whatsoever.
Okay.
Anyway, so I got to get distracted by mudlarking and football. Anyway. Cancelo and Trippier. Trippier's boring. Cancelo with one. He's a real problem. But then I've got other problems. I've got Trossard who didn't play. I've got Kulusevski who didn't play as well. De Bruyne with another blank, which is really frustrating because I thought he would do well in the 3 games. And then blanks for all 3 of my guys up top, Haaland, Darwin and Martial. And Martial wasn't in the squad for United's win yesterday, and I'm worried about him. So I've got issues, and I addressed one of them early. I did Trossard.
What was the transfer you made early, by the way?
I did Trossard to Odegaard.
Right. Because
Trossard was going down, Odegaard was going up, and I forgot there was FA Cup matches, basically. And so now I'm wishing that I'd waited because I really, really, really want Matoma, who I'm going to be talking about in a bit. But I won't be able to get him this week. I think he's going to terrorise Trent, though. The only other big thing I did was I was the only person in the world, I think, who went for Andreas Pereira over Mitrovic. Which could yet come in, because obviously you got, Mitrovic will miss tomorrow night's game. But what happens, Mark? For the first time this season, he goes off before 60 minutes. Beautiful. Yeah, I know. I know. That was a bit hard. I don't understand that either, because did he pick up a knock? What was the reasoning behind that? He's such a key player. I don't understand why they would have done that. Has brought him in. He's got to be punished. That's the rule. Yeah, very, very tough. But you've still got Thursday's game. You still might get something from Andreas. He'll be on penalties, of course, without Mitrovic playing. Yeah. So I'm not completely losing faith. I think Fulham at home against Chelsea is all right, given the way they've been playing recently. So I am. I wouldn't say optimistic, hopeful. Well, we're going to go for your team in a bit more detail later when we look at what you're doing for Game Week 20, of course. Let's bring up my team. I beat you by 13 points, 57.
Well, obviously we've still got some players to play. I've got Kepa and Andreas as well, and also I've got Zaha to come in for an extra 2 points. So I'm actually on 59 at the moment.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
how many points is it between us?
Well, we'll have a look in a minute when we get to great and the good. You
feeling
a bit?
Of course, you know.
It's getting a bit squeaky. Maybe you get a bit worried. I'm noticing that your rank on the screen is firmly in 7 figures now, and I think I've closed the gap in recent weeks, and also looking at game week 20, I fancy myself to close the gap a little bit more. But anyway, we'll see. It's definitely on. It's definitely on for the second half of the season.
Can't believe it.
Yeah,
All the players
I know.
coming for you. Matt Doherty.
So I made the mistake of putting Trips third on the bench, which was I just didn't see them picking up a clean sheet at Arsenal. I was fully backing Arsenal to win that game, and hence that's why Trippier is third on the bench. And Zaha was my first sub, and he's the one that's going to come on for Trossard. But yeah, Kepa with the 2 points still to play. Fulham, White with 7, Shaw with 15, Matt Doherty with 14 with the goal at Palace. Trossard didn't play, of course, and Zaha will come on. Salah 2, Saka 3, Andreas to 1 point at the moment, and Haaland 2, Mitrovic the 10. Doesn't have Chelsea to play, of course, because he's suspended, and then Eddie with the 1 point. And it'll be Zaha with 2 off the bench. So, I could have put Trips first sub. Maybe should have done, but them's the breaks.
Very, very amusing about Mitrovic.
I know. And when he scored the goal, I was all like, well, surely they take him off now. Did you see the booking as well? It was like...
Yeah, he was having one of his petulant days that day. He could have been booked a couple of times.
Well, the referee went there, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was like basically going, look, this is an accumulation booking.
It was deserved. But when he scored that first goal, and I saw how high his ownership was, my heart just sank, and then it ended up being about as good a result as I could have hoped for. So, I got away one.
You did, and I'm surprised Silva didn't take him off, given that it was an accumulative foul booking. Given that if the referee saw that, why wasn't Marco Silva watching that, knowing that his striker was on 4 yellow cards? So I don't really understand why Silva took Andreas Pereira off on 59 minutes and left Mitrovic on to get... It's almost like he did it to spite us, didn't it? But yeah.
That's what he does. That's how the world works this season, I'm afraid.
So there is the gap. There is the great and the good. The gap is 79 points. And we're at the halfway point, 79 points. Can I pull back 79 points in 19 game weeks? Of course I can. Of course I can.
Please, no.
Momentum is with me. So I quite fancy it, actually. I quite fancy it, especially when I look at this week and how our teams look this week. I think I'm going to make another
very cocky for someone who hasn't even got 1,000 points yet.
Yeah, well, I've got these small victories. Like it's going to be. It's like the old days of me and Granville. Like all I've got to play for now is beating you. I think so. I'm going to try and do that. Right? Yeah.
Look at this lead. Look at all the Mitrovic captainers. Have you got my soundbite?
Which signboard's like what, a lot of cowards out there?
Yeah,
I must put that in.
But, you haven't got that? Yeah.
No,
but look at this. A lot of cowards out there.
Well, it was so obvious, wasn't it? It was quite funny, actually, because obviously Haaland was the majority captain within the game. And the kind of, what should we say, seasoned, hardcore, non-casual, I don't know. We all went Mitrovic, didn't we? And
I just wasn't.
We did
feeling
okay.
it.
You were not.
I just wasn't feeling it. I just thought with that booking, this was always a distinct possibility. And I mean, it's Mitrovic. He's obviously great, but I didn't even really consider bringing him in because a lot of people were selling Martial for Mitrovic, and I know Martial blanked, but I was looking at that and thinking Martial's got Bournemouth at home, and then a double, like very likely very soon. That move just didn't.
He didn't have really a confirmed double, to be fair.
We knew it. We kind of knew it was coming there, right, from Ben.
Yeah, but I think we've said in the past not to like base transfers on doubles that aren't yet confirmed. I mean, keep it in mind, and we all did. I mean, which is why I got Trossard and why I got Zaha, because I knew that there was a potential doubles on the horizon, and one has dropped in, right, which is going to benefit me with Zaha. So yes, I guess people were. It probably was folly to sell Martial for Mitrovic in hindsight, but I can see why it was done because Mitrovic could have done better out of that game. Leicester. Defensively aren't great. So
no, really poor. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got a clear target. You know how I love chasing people down. You know what? That's how I play. And you're firmly in my sights, definitely.
Well, we're 1-1, aren't we, on seasons?
We are 1-1 on seasons, so plenty to play for going ahead. We should say Ben Crellin, top of the Great and the Good League, overall rank of 3,480. A superb season for Mr. Crellin. Who is entering the busiest period of the season for him.
Yep.
So we'll see whether that has an impact on his overall rank, because let's face it, he's incredibly busy, as we're going to get to in a minute. It's funny, isn't it? Every season, I kind of think to myself, Ben Crellin, right? He's made his reputation on Twitter and in the FPL community as someone who is a double game week, blank game week specialist. How long can he grow that reputation? How long are double game weeks and blanks going to be a thing? But every season, it gets more and more complex, doesn't it?
How long until the Premier League just hire him and just say, Ben, can you just do this for us?
I should put it this way. While I was there, I had conversations to that effect. So yeah, they know of him, and it's absolutely great, and it's true of where we are now in the season. Now, I brought the fixture ticker up here on the screen, and right now, yes. So the confirmed double game weeks for game week 20. Man City will play Spurs at home and United away, and Crystal Palace will play Chelsea away and Man United at home. So that is double game weeks for United, City, Spurs and Palace. I should say, sorry, United have got City Palace and Spurs have got Arsenal City. So we know of those double game weeks, but in a moment we'll look at the double game weeks to come. Let's first get your reaction to what we do know, what is confirmed. We always knew that City were going to have the double. What we didn't know was that United were also going to have Palace away and give them a double. What's your immediate thoughts on that?
On a personal note, I was happy because my team looked awful until that United double game week came in, and then I suddenly got 3 new doublers because I think I was benching Shaw and Martial because they had City and playing like Bueno and someone else, and then the doubles came in, then I was able to move those around. So I was happy with that news. But I mean, looking at the fixtures, I mean, it's a pretty crap double game week, isn't it? I mean, City are playing United away. United have got one of the best home records at the moment. I think they've kept 5 clean sheets in a row at home or something like that. It's not going to be the same game that we saw earlier in the season, in my opinion. And then Spurs are a really difficult team for City. They beat them twice last season. And I think Pep is going to have that in the back of his mind. And I think these could be 2 quite low-scoring matches. You look at United, I mean, the City game's tough, obviously. Then they've got Palace. That's okay. I think, most of us can be going into that with at least 2 United players. That third spot is a bit more tricky. And then Spurs, I mean, Harry Kane, but the 2 best defences in the league, Arsenal and City. I've got Kulusevski. Is he even fit? Who knows? And then you've got Palace, where it's literally just Zaha to consider. So I don't know. I look at it and think, meh. He's
back training on his own, Kulusevski. So he's someone that you've got to consider, I think, going into the deadline. Be interested to see what you want to do. I
just hope he starts. Just come on, start both games. Give me something. I mean, he was such a disaster because I picked him over all the other 8 million mids who all delivered again, and then he got injured. So, yeah, sorry, I'm making this all about me. But
no, I get it. I mean, my reaction was the same as yours. It was very convenient that this double dropped in because I had Zaha, and obviously it meant that Shaw is a player then you consider with the double game week as well, and Shaw was on my bench, and so it immediately made my team look better, and it also meant that I could take a hit this week and get some payment back on that hit by getting double game week players in. I didn't have Rashford, and Rashford was a big concern for me, and now I can take a hit to get Rashford and know that I'm going to get that back, or part of that back, through the fact that he'll play 2 games. So it really worked out really well. So for once, a win for both of us.
Which
is good to see.
A rare win.
Yeah. But let's look at the double game weeks that could be to come. And to do this, I'm bringing up a graphic from Mikhail Tokvam, who runs the transfer algorithm, which is a genius algorithm, which if you are a hardcore player and want to find another possible advantage in playing FPL, then go and investigate Mikhail's work. But he's also a presence on Twitter and does this kind of thing, which is a representation of the potential double game weeks to come. And obviously we see in the green there the confirmed double game weeks. If the figure 2 shows that those teams have 2 games, which is Spurs, United, City and Palace. And then for 21, you can see the shading in green highlights the fact that Arsenal, Palace, Chelsea, Everton, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Brighton could all have a double game week in game week 21. And we're expecting that to be confirmed before the deadline for game week 20, after tonight's games. And, from this is based on Ben Crellin's data, by the way. It seems that Chelsea and Liverpool are the most likely to have a double game week in 21. But, Brighton are also in there, 1.50. They're obviously highly fancied to get a double game week. It could be possible that even Palace have back-to-back double game weeks. So there's a lot of unknowns as we sit here now that we hope will get cleared up before the deadline comes and we commit our teams to game week 20. And then even beyond that, we look at 22 and we see that United and Leeds, that fixture could drop in and give those two teams a double game week as well in game week 22 before we get to the confirmed double game week, which affects both City and Arsenal. A lot to take in, a lot to unpack, isn't there?
I mean, look at that though. Next level kind of analysis, building on the stuff that Ben does. Sorry if I was looking a bit distracted. It's just because we're getting a couple of comments saying the stream is lagging a little bit.
Well, it's fine. It's fine as far as I can see. So
yeah. Anyway, let us know in the comments if you're finding it a bit laggy. Some people saying it's fine. Some people saying they're not. Weird. Anyway, really, really interesting stuff. I mean, the Brighton double is what I'm most excited about, obviously. But now I've got rid of Trossard. 21 means I won't be able to load up on them as I might like, because I'll probably only be able to get one. So it'd be maybe better for me if that was a bit later down the line. But yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, isn't it, with the doubles, because they're coming in late, like late notice as well. Like that United
very
thing
late.
doesn't give you time to react to things. So we do actually need to look at these kind of things and try and work out, where the likely parts are, so that we can make transfers. Well, I'm looking at Odegaard, for example, and thinking, okay, I'm happy with that move because he's, he's in the green for a double in 21.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the confirmed in 23 as well. So, you could even look at this and go, well, I can, if I'm getting an Arsenal or City player, I mean, City, you can take a hit for them anyway because they've got the game week 20 double. But if you want Odegaard, you could even, take a hit for them now if you really wanted to get an Arsenal player in, knowing that there's a double game week coming in 23 where you'll get 2 of those points back because Odegaard should play both unless he gets injured or suspended. And there's a possibility he has one in 21 as well. So you'll pay nothing for that hit. So if this is information that we can use to plan improving our squads, and that's how I'm looking at it, definitely. I mean, I want to move to Odegaard. He's a player that I'm looking at getting anyway, but the fact that I could move to him in 21 and catch another double with one coming in 23 is very attractive indeed. So that's how we need to use this information. Don't commit too much, but leave yourself open to the flexibility of moving for those players when they're confirmed.
This kind of thing is our edge. Right.
Yes.
You like to think that it's our edge because, people talk about the amount of content that's created and the casuals becoming more in the know and all that kind of knowledge. This kind of stuff now is what separates us, hopefully. So, yeah, really important that people kind of engage with this, and hopefully it'll be right.
Yeah, well, the Palace United fell in, didn't it? Exactly as Ben predicted. So, that showed you the value of taking in that information and using that to guide your decisions to this point. Those who got Shaw in over other players when they lost Reece James, that was a great move.
Close.
Right?
So close.
Were you going to go Dina? Because people did, didn't they? People went
that guy is dead to me. Is
he in the Mahrez category? Is he in the?
He is most certainly in the Mahrez category.
Right.
No way am I ever going back to Luca Dean. He's just done me wrong too many times, as I'm sure he has.
You see, Luke did. You see, Luke went Dean.
Yeah, Luke is Luke never learns. He's thinking of Mahrez as well. He's bigging him up on Twitter.
Well, to be honest, when I saw Luke was looking at Dino, I had a look because obviously when I see a good manager put that out there, I look, what's he thinking? And I could see the logic. The fixtures are great, and obviously Dino is the player in that Villa back line that brings that attacking promise. But I was.
They just signed a new left back now as well.
Yeah, I was very cautious because I thought Luke Shaw is a player I'm going to want long term. So I looked and made a decision long term rather than short, which was the right way to go. But I totally see where Luke was coming from because he's now in a great, strong position, but looking for those little differentials to push him that little bit further. So he is going to make those kind of riskier decisions at this point.
It's great though, isn't it? Because Luke has changed his style a bit this season. He's playing more in the kind of analytics like crowd, and every little decision he makes that goes a little bit against the analytics is just immediately punished in the harshest way. Oh wow!
Yeah.
That was
That's
exciting.
what he said. Yeah, I know. I can do that kind of thing as well now. Yeah, so that's the thing. He has got, and it's brought him a lot of success. But then you get to a point where you realise that you've got to find that little bit extra now and again, and it's calculated risks, and it's something that I've tried to do a lot this season and failed. And for once, I didn't do it with someone like Lucas Digne, and played safe. So
no way.
You're not going there.
The listeners in the chat, if you go back to Luca Digne, you deserve everything you get, and I'm afraid I agree with that.
Yeah. And Mahrez is off the agenda when we get to City, which we're getting to now, by the way.
I can't believe it. I can't believe people are considering him. It's so funny.
Okay, well, let's look at Man City now, because what we've got to discuss is, first of all, Haaland. Now, this was an interesting tweet, again, by Mr. Krellin, who very conveniently for us broke down Man City's schedule from the March international break, as it says here, because these are alternative game weeks where you could play the triple captainship. So just to be clear, Man City have a double game week coming up in game week 20. And they have another double game week where they play, who do they play? They play Arsenal, and let's go back to the ticker and have a look. In game week 23, they play Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away. So they have two stronger fixtures in 23, arguably, right? But going back to Ben's tweet, there could also be other opportunities after game week 23 where we could play it. Now, they could be in 29, when they could play Liverpool or Bournemouth and West Ham. They could be in 34 when they play Fulham, and then they could play one of Bournemouth, West Ham or Brighton. Ooh, and it could be in 37 when they play Chelsea. In 37, they could play Chelsea and one of Bournemouth, West Ham and Brighton, right? So that kind of corresponds to the fixtures that they've got left to play. But it also presumes that Man City will reach the EFL Cup final, that they will progress in the FA Cup as well. Right? So it makes some presumptions on their progress in the cup competitions. So first of all, it's dangerous to sit here now and go, I'm not going to play it in 20. I'm not going to play it in 23. I'm going to save it and hope that Man City get further double game weeks that are favourable and more favourable, because it's possible they could get in 34, Fulham away, Bournemouth away.
So, I mean, the big question there, though, is this is assuming we are 100% going to use it on Haaland.
Well, right? I was going to ask you, what's your view on that?
Well, my view on it is, if you're going to use it on Haaland, you probably use it this week. If you believe that Haaland transcends fixture difficulty and his output is so good that you can't, this is the week to do it, I think, because Villa and Arsenal that Arsenal game is so unbelievably key that you have to think they're going to wrap him up a little bit in that Villa game. And I know that you can roll the dice on it. You can say, okay, but it's a much better fixture and it's at home and then it's going to Arsenal. I get that logic as well. But for me, if I'm picking right now out of those two fixtures, I would use it this week. But I don't think either of those 2 weeks are huge captain potential hauls for Haaland when there's other options with good-looking double game week fixtures as well. The question mark, though, is do we dare ever go against Haaland? That's the biggest worry, right?
I'm going to bring up some more data for this. A friend of the show, Chris Glover, produced these graphics. This is the analysis that I used to do, but when I went to do it, I found that he'd done it already for me. This is where he would take a player and he'd look at how their pairings would go throughout the season so far.
These and claiming these as your own?
Yeah, no, but Chris has got there and done it anyway, so I thought, well, I'll use Chris. He won't mind. He's a good friend, so... he's at PL Fantasy. If you want to look him up on Twitter, you should, because he's excellent. He's having a fantastic season. I think he's 12th in the Blackbox League and top 1,000 as well. So he's flying.
Yeah.
Now, he has shown here that when you look at Haaland's game weeks and you pair them up from 1 to 19, that his lowest score in any one pairing of game weeks is 8. Right, so you're so far, based on what we've seen from Haaland, you are guaranteed a return. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees in fantasy, but it would be very unlikely that if you triple captained Haaland over game week 20 or game week 23 or any of the potential double game weeks to come, that you will get 2 blanks.
That he starts both games in, which is probably the key question.
Yes, X-Mins we'll get onto in a minute.
Yeah.
Interestingly, he did the same for Kane, who is a player that, you know, people are mentioning in the light of the double game week for Spurs, game week 20.
Unbelievable.
But look at him, you know, his lowest score in any pairing is 9. So he's actually fared better than Haaland when you pair his scores out. He doesn't have the big scores, he doesn't have the 23s and the big 34 and the 29, but he has consistency. We've seen that throughout the season. He's been a consistent player, returning goals and assists, and he's on the coattails of Haaland, of course, right? Without being noticed, really, because Haaland's been so good. So, first of all, are you absolutely adamant that it has to be Haaland?
What, in general for the triple captaincy chair? No, I'm not. I worry that if basically every week that we do our captaincy section on Blackbox, Haaland is going to be primary candidate.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who he's playing. Doesn't matter. I mean, what's the hardest game he could be playing? Arsenal away, probably. Well, isn't that the one in the double?
Yeah, it's the one in 23.
He's got Villa. So even his hardest game left this season, he's still got the option of having a good home game against Villa. So the question, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, do I see myself captaining anyone other than Haaland at any point this season? And, you know, obviously people are going to say, you know, if I'm doing badly in my league and I want to make up ground, then I'm going to go for a differential captain. You know, the same triple captain argument is coming up over and over again, which drives me absolutely insane.
The one that I raised a few seasons
Oh,
ago.
my God.
Do the math. Do the math, as they say.
Do the maths. Please do the maths. The triple captainship is worth 100% of the points, not 300% like a lot of people seem to think it is. Because if you're kind of captain a differential player, you get those 200% points.
I don't want to get into it. It confuse my lowly brain. But yes.
I'm just rattling off. We don't need to have an argument about it. But yeah, that's the key thing. And you know, I think there are going to be opportunities between. You've got to believe there's going to be opportunities between the end of the season, that there's going to be a good double game week for a player playing for a team in form and who looks a good option. So I'm happy to keep that triple captain chip in my pocket and let Haaland play these 2 tough games, which I think in a row, which I think are going to be low scoring, and use it a bit later down the line. It might be on Haaland, like later on down the line. I'm not saying it won't be, but I personally want to keep my options open.
Yeah.
And Kane looks a great pick. I mean, you look at these stats, absolutely fantastic. I mean, what you want from that triple captain chip is consistent points across both games, and Kane and Haaland are the two top ones. So Kane is a really nice pick. I think I wouldn't use it this week on him though. So
it sounds to me like you said at the top of the show or off air that you were absolutely set on using it on Haaland this week.
No, I said the opposite. I said I was set on what I was going to do.
Right.
And what I'm going to do is not use it.
Oh, okay. Right.
I definitely won't be triple captaining Haaland this week. Definitely not.
Right.
I can say
because I'm of a similar mind. I am. If I was going to captain Haaland, it probably would be this week, because obviously, well, let's look at 23 again, and the reason why 20 is so attractive. Game week 23 has Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away, but the potential problem for that is that City play Arsenal in the FA Cup, which falls between game weeks 21 and 22. They play Arsenal. If that is a draw and it goes to a replay, that replay will fall between game week 22 and game week 23. So potentially there could be a replay where City play Arsenal before they host Villa at home. Now, with
Spurs before that as well.
And with Spurs before that. So if that does happen, you've got to think Haaland would play the replay, and you've got to think that City would be in a position, or Pep would want to have everything preserved for the Arsenal away trip, the second fixture in 23. So then there'll be question marks over whether Haaland plays Villa. So if you're sitting here now and you're thinking, I'm not going to play at 20, but I definitely want it on Haaland and I'm going to play at 23, you've got to consider that potential outcome. And then if you're looking at that and going, okay, well, I'll just save it for later, you've got to consider that all kinds of variables like City not progressing in the Cups and then those doubles not falling there. You've also got to consider, if we go back to Ben's graphic, that although game week 34 and 37 could be attractive for City, they are the big double game weeks. They are the double game weeks where at least one of them we will want to play bench boost. And so it might be that when we get to 34, that looks the better game week for bench boost, which means you can't play your triple captainship. And then you'll end up saving it for 37. By the time we get to 37, the title race could be over, City could be in the Champions League final, and Haaland might not be a sure starter. Yeah. So there's just so many things
There's so
to
many,
consider.
so many. But again, I don't want to keep going on about it. But the one thing, because there's a few comments in the chat saying, use your triple captain on a differential option because that'll climb you up the ranks.
Go on then. Go on.
It's not how it works. The triple captainship is only worth the amount of points that player gets. If Haaland gets 15 points in a double game week, that is exactly the same as your Matoma in game week 32 getting 15 points. Because you can captain Matoma anyway. It's only worth 100% of their points. I can't think of any other way to describe it other than that. And every year I get wound up by it. And I promise I won't mention it again. But just to be clear on that, that is my. If you think Haaland is going to get a big return, it doesn't matter about ownership or differential.
It only matters if you think that Haaland's potential for points in game week 20 or 23 is a low ceiling compared to someone like a Rashford or I don't know anybody else to come later in the season.
Which is just a standard captain decision that you make every week, because we're captaining Haaland because his floor is seemingly 10 and his ceiling is 30, and so that's why he's getting the captaincy every week, and there's no difference.
And here you see it in Chris's graphic again, that so far this season he has always delivered a return over 2 game weeks, and his ceiling has been 34 points, which is incredibly scary. But if you look at the fixtures that we're playing with here, I'm with you. I'm not expecting City to go United and that to be a game of goals. I'm not really expecting the Spurs game to be a game of goals either, because like you say, Pep will be cautious going into that game, hosting Spurs, because he's been punished on the break before. And also, this goes against the data we're going to show later. City haven't looked fluid as yet, have they? Okay.
So just quick, that game against Chelsea, I think really,
was an
really
offline.
confirms that, because they set up in a weird way. They set up to frustrate and to grind out that win 1-0.
The away game.
Yeah. Not the one where they won 4-0 or whatever it was. The Premier League game, and Chelsea could have got something from that game if they converted some of the chances in the first half. But I'm not expecting radical changes from that for these next 2 games, because they're tough games, and Pep wants to win them, in the way that he thinks is best, which is going to be a slim victory, I think. So I think his floor is lower than we've seen it previously this season, personally.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at team data. So this is team data since the restart. This goes against what we've just said, though, in the City, just like they are let's just check that they are top of the attacking data for the season. Yeah, they are. Yeah. So over the season, their XG non-penalty per 90 is 2, right, which is the highest in the Premier League, ahead of Arsenal 1.90, 1.86. Since the restart, they're still top, but they're top by a bigger margin, 2.75 XG non-penalty per 90. So their XG non-penalty per 90 has gone up per 90 over the last 3. This says that they've had more attacking threat. But that's not what I've seen with my eyes. So for once, it's almost like, with my eyes, I've seen a City team that have actually struggled for fluidity. We've seen Pep show some inconsistency with his team selection, that, there's uncertainty about what we're going to get from his team. We know that Haaland will likely start both games in game week 20, and we expect that he could in game week 23, but barring that FA Cup replay. But the team around Haaland is still in flux, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, and you could also argue that City have had arguably one of the best fixtures since the restart. I mean, Leeds away, Everton at home, Chelsea away.
Yeah. And
against Everton, they did struggle. Everton had a good shape to them. They struggled to get through, and the same with Chelsea as well until that mistake by Kepa. So they got the 3 goals against Leeds. De Bruyne, was putting balls on a plate for players, and they were missing it. So there's a question about conversion, because they could have got 6 or 7 in that match, and they probably should have had a couple more against Everton. They always will do. So there's obviously a problem with the conversion. But I agree with you. In the 2 games I've seen them play in the league, not in that cup. I mean, they were just incredible in that cup game against Chelsea. I mean,
but Chelsea were poor. Chelsea were poor as well.
I mean, that guy is a gem that Pep's unearthed, and they look really good. But yeah, I am a bit. I look at this data and I agree with you. It's a little bit at odds with what I'm seeing. I wouldn't write City off, but I think the fixtures are bad enough to let us consider that they're not going to score a huge amount.
The other thing to consider is that City are obviously chasing Arsenal, and it's a results business for them now. They don't need to win games by marquee scorelines and winning 3 or 4-0. It's all about getting the result, getting on the bus and going home. When it comes to the Old Trafford game, they'll take a 1-0. And that, I think that's the score I've predicted. I do think I think City could nick it 1-0, but it's going to be a very tight game. They're not going to go 2-0 up, leave Haaland on and win 4-0. I just don't see that happening. And equally for Spurs at home, like I say, Pep will, I think, approach it with some caution, given how Son and Kane have exposed them in the past.
Yeah. Wow, we agree. I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, I think City dropped points in these 2 games. At least one of them.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 really, really tough games. I can see. I think I've got Spurs to get a draw with them, but it's a big game for United. United are flying at the moment, and there's going to be. I mean, that atmosphere at Old Trafford is going to be absolutely incredible. And given what we've seen from City in the league, I think United will be hopeful that they can get something. So I don't personally think City come out of this Gameweek with 6 points.
Right.
I think they drop. I think they at best they get a win and a draw. That's my prediction.
And 23, we've got to be cautious given that the likelihood of potentially a replay with Arsenal in the Cup, and the fact that even without that replay, there's every chance that Pep will manage Haaland's minutes at home to Villa, given that Arsenal then follows, and obviously that's a key fixture.
Interesting.
This is what counters it, because this is the player data since the restart, and just look at that. Look where Haaland is on that.
That is terrifying, isn't it? But he's been missing. He's clinical. What we've seen from him previously in the season has been he gets a chance and he scores it, and he has been spurning chances. I mean, he's still getting shots. His stats are good. This is all very promising numbers and exactly what you want to see. But would it just? I guess we assume it's just going to click back, right? And he's just going to start knocking him in again. Because I mean, he's top. Wow, he's top for points, near the top for points per 90. But he could have had a lot more points.
Yeah, and that's him for forwards. He's obviously top of forwards as well. His conversion's not that bad. It's not over those 3 fixtures. It's not that bad. No, so it is worrisome that you look at that and think, well, even though we're kind of unsure about City and how fluid they are, the numbers suggest there's no problem at all.
It's very interesting. Look at this is why we look at the data and stuff, because it is at odds with what I've seen. I mean, I think about the last few games. I think, okay, City haven't been that great in attack, and Haaland's missed loads of chances, have been off it. And then you look at the data, and it's like, well, City are the best attack, and Haaland is having the most chances and the most shots, and his conversion isn't even that bad. So this is where the data can kind of help frame the eye test, I think, and that's why the combination of them is important.
Yeah, I must say I'm yet to decide what to do, but given where I am, given my rank, and the fact that I know that the popular thing to do will be to go with Haaland, and it's the safest thing to do. You will likely get a return out of him in 20. You'll likely get a return out of him in 23. I don't think the ceiling is that high in either of those game weeks, and there's a potential bigger ceiling coming for him or another City player later, and there's always the option then of going to another player anyway that has 2 attractive fixtures.
I am tempted to not even captain Haaland this week. How mad is that?
That is crazy, because I wasn't even going to look at the captaincy tonight, but now you've said that, we will.
Are you not even slightly tempted by Marcus Rashford?
I am.
Because I genuinely, I think a home game against City with their defence, okay, they've got a good defence, obviously, but with the players coming in and out, there's some rumours about Stones not being fully fit.
Saw that tonight, just now, which is a blow, because that was going to be my transfer.
Yeah, exactly. I think United are going to be up for. I think United score in that game, definitely. And then it's a good game against Palace, who are all over the place. They just lost 4-0 to Spurs in the second half.
And Rashford has delivered in 7 straight games now.
Yeah. I think he's got to be considered. The terrifying thing is Haaland's going to be 205% effective ownership. Which obviously isn't, I always say, is a way I don't want to play, but sometimes you have to look at that and be like, oh, that is gonna hurt if he goes nuts. Yeah.
As has been drinking again.
The chat is, there's a few people saying they like the Rashford shout, and there's a few people saying it's crazy. So yeah,
Well,
let us know what you
we'll get to the captaincy. Let's look at Man City overall, because if we look at their attack over the last 6 as well, they're not top of that, but Arsenal are top over the last 6 matches. But as we saw since the restart, the City attack is best. If you haven't got 3 City players, would you argue that we're moving that way? Have you got to go into game week 20 with 3 City players? Is my first question.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I mean, if I was going to pick 3, it would be Haaland, De Bruyne, and Ederson in goal, because that gets you your guaranteed 3 starters across both. I look at all the other players in the team, and I just don't really know who's going to play. Foden isn't really an option, given that he's in and out. Same with Grealish on that left-hand side. I look at the defence. I mean, you told me the other day that you were thinking of getting Stones, and I know a few people have been considering it. I know he's potentially got this injury now, but even before the injury, I said straight away, I just don't want to get involved in that. Like, there's so many centre-backs at that club that can play there, and then the full-backs are all competing against each other. Like that cup game, they played 2 different full-backs. Cancelo dropped, and they were excellent, absolutely excellent, those full-backs for City. So it's just a complete minefield. What your point was, if you've got a good bench, a good defensive bench. I've got Bueno and Patterson, for example. If you've got like White or a Dallo or someone half decent, then you can maybe take the gamble on the City defender. But I don't think it's a must have. I think if you've got Haaland, that's fine. And then one of Ederson or De Bruyne, or maybe you take a punt. Maybe take a punt on Mahrez. It's not for me. But I can see why people are doing it. When I talk about Mahrez, it's done through my past experiences with him. I don't think he's a terrible option for the double gaming.
Well, we'll get onto him in a moment. I think my case is that whatever, unless it's De Bruyne. I mean, I've got Ederson and Haaland, right? So unless the third player I go for is De Bruyne, there is an element of risk. Whether you're going a defender or whether you're going for Mahrez or Grealish or Foden, there's an element of risk. And you're taking a player that, okay, you're going to want to hold them to 23, but who knows? I mean, like I would say right now, if I was going to commit to a defender, it would be Stones. But let's not talk about the injury yet, because nothing's confirmed. As before tonight, it was Stones, because you look at this data and he's played each one of the last 6 he's started. Yeah. He's also played very well. And we know that Pep, when a player plays well and performs high level, he normally keeps faith with them. Yeah. I mean, Foden might be an outlier. What happened there, we just don't know.
Centre backs wise, that's what we've seen historically. Laporte's come in, Stones come in. Yeah, and he hasn't really. I mean, Akanji was his boy, wasn't he, early in the season? But he's out now.
So right now, I would say Stones, without tonight's rumoured injury, would be the one I would risk in defence, and then in midfield it would be probably Mahrez, because he has been in strong form. If we look at midfielders over the last 6 game weeks, XGI non-penalty per 90, we take the last 6 game weeks only as the data source. Mahrez is the top midfielder, 0.89 XGI non-penalty per 90. Now, that's only off the back of 209 minutes, but he has impressed in those 2 starts. He's come in and he's looked like he's Pep's main goal threat outside of Haaland. We thought that was Foden. Now it appears to be Mahrez again. I think that Mahrez is probably just about over Grealish, the most certain to start both games. He doesn't start tonight, I see, in the Carabao Cup. So that would indicate that he's in a good position to start both games in Game Week 20. So if I was risking a third player other than De Bruyne, it would be Mahrez or Stones. Now, that would be with the understanding that going forward, there's no certainty of start for either of those players. Now, I think I'd rather take that risk in defence, where, like you say, I could have a 4th or even another, I could have 4 other defenders that I'm happy starting every week. Like I've got a Stupinan who's got great fixtures to come. I've got Luke Shaw, I've got Ben White, I've got Trippier, of course. So if I got Stones in, I'd have 4 other defenders there that I can play instead of him. So I can kind of gauge whether or not Stones is going to start and then choose to take the risk or not. If I go Mahrez or Grealish, I'm using a precious midfield slot. So not only am I benching more money, I'm using up a slot which could be potentially explosive if I had an alternative player. So that is why I much prefer, if you're going to take a risk on a third player that isn't De Bruyne, it would be a defender.
it's classic case of trying to cover, isn't it? It's trying to cover. For me, De Bruyne and Haaland are so far clear. I mean, you don't need expertise in FPL to know that they are the two. They are the two best options. Every other player to me feels like trying to tap into points and just hope for the best. And it's not a double game week where I think there is going to be huge returns. I don't think there's going to be huge returns in defence either. I think it's very likely that both teams score in that match. So, I just feel like there's better ways that people could be spending their transfers this week rather than trying to bring in a Stones or a Mahrez or something. I think even if you've only got Haaland, I kind of feel like this double game week, that's kind of enough. There's good options elsewhere, and not to get too, kind of into it, because there is for me only three viable options that you'd want to have in your. If it's a free hit, okay, that's a different story. But in terms of transfers, I just don't want to bring in Mahrez, and then you've got Mahrez in your team, and he plays. Say he plays against United and he's rubbish, and then Pep drops him again.
Yeah.
Oh great! Now I'm stuck with Mahrez again, like I have been so many times in other seasons. A transfer is for multiple game weeks, not just for one. And Mahrez is not a player, I think, that can stay in your team long term.
FPL Father Ted saying, I wouldn't want to force a City defender in. Now, the reason why I like of the City defenders is the data suggests that's the way to go. We know what the strongest defences are. It's City, it's Arsenal, it's Newcastle. And then below that, United are creeping up. This is the season data. City out on top, 0.64 XG conceded non-penalty per 90. Arsenal 0.75. Newcastle really impressive, 0.88. If we go to the last 6 matches only, then United creep up. I think I can sit here now and say the 4 best defences: City, Arsenal, Newcastle, United. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I don't see that changing. Do you over the rest of the season?
I would go one step more and say none of the other teams I would trust even remotely to keep a clean sheet. I think the quality of defending in the Premier League this year is actually really poor. Because I look at Chelsea, I look at Spurs, I look at Liverpool, even a team like Villa, who have had Emery come in, but we thought was going to turn them around defensively. West Ham have been good defensively previous seasons. They were awful this year under Moyes. There's the Palace as well. They were well disciplined under Vieira. Now suddenly they're conceding and chipping goals for fun. There's only those 4 teams. Yeah. There's only those 4 teams that we can trust.
I think Brighton have been disappointed in terms of output defensively this season. They have got good fixtures to come. And they could creep into 5th place in a kind of like as the 5th best, I reckon.
I'm not surprised by that, because we dominate the ball and the passing is amazing, but we invite counterattacks, and when teams counterattack us, they tend to score. So it's part of the tactics, though. It's part of the tactics. De Zerbi likes to invite the press and try and but if that doesn't work and they do win the press, then the team that we're playing is well set up for a counter attack, and we often concede. So that's why we don't keep clean sheets. Our underlying defensive data is really good, putting us in 7th. We're right up there as well since De Zerbi took charge, because we don't concede a huge amount of chances because teams don't have the ball against us. But when they do get the ball, they can hurt because our defenders aren't the best. Yeah,
I mean, I think Estupiñán's okay to hold because I'm going to play him in good fixtures. But so the reason why I like a City defender, and I've got Ederson already, and the reason why I wouldn't mind doubling up, is that if I can find the City defender that more often than not plays, and I think that's easier to find the City defender that more often than not plays than it is, say, in Mahrez, Grealish or Foden, are more often than not playing, then you are buying into a top 4 defence. That if you've got defenders from the other teams, you can rotate when you feel security of start is at its strongest, and bring in. I would then have Ederson and Stones, right? If Stones came into my team, I'd have Ederson and Stones. Most other teams would only have one City defender, maybe not even that if they sell Cancelo and don't get a City replacement. So I would have a double up in the best defence in the league. Okay, they've not had the output recently of clean sheets, but you've got to think as we get further down the season and it becomes all about keeping it tight, winning 1-0, managing the game, getting back on the bus, etc., we will see some 1-0 wins from City.
Absolutely.
So I do think the City defender is a better option of investment now than risking going a Mahrez, Foden or Grealish. That's my view, but I don't know.
I think people like you that went with Ederson, and I was tempted, have got to be so smug with how things are going, because not only is Cancelo not an option for all those, but the other defenders are a bit of a nightmare, and you can just sit there with Ederson and think, okay, these 1-0s are going to come, and I'm going to get those points. So yeah, I'm very jealous of you as an Ederson. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I look at the attack, this is City over the last 6. yes, they're strong. Yes, we know how good their players can be, but I think it's far harder to pin a tail on the donkey with that. I think it's, we still don't. I mean, like Foden, it hasn't really surprised me what we've seen with Foden again when we got back after the restart. If we go back to that City graphic, you can see over the last 6 game weeks, he's had 2 starts. He's played 212 minutes. We don't know why. We didn't know why before Christmas, and we don't know why after Christmas, why Foden hasn't started games. But there's something there. And that something has come along and also affected Cancelo now, presumably. We don't know if it's... we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but what's your theory about Cancelo at the moment? Why is he out of favour? He's playing tonight, therefore he's obviously not... Is it just Rico Lewis, or do you think there's more to it?
I think there's more to it because we saw him lose his place for Portugal as well. I mean, he played for City, he got red carded, they then lost the next game against Brentford. He went off to the World Cup, lost his place in that. I think his head just isn't quite right. I mean, what I can't understand, though, is if you've got a player who maybe is suffering a little bit, why would you play him at right wing against Chelsea and then sub him off for 45 minutes? I mean, Pep's mind is a thing of beauty, but it's also a thing of confusion.
Well, he confuses himself, though, doesn't he? And I think his team looked confused that night, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, I mean the first half, and it wasn't. I saw the subs being made, and I was like, oh, that's definitely just going to be Cancelo coming off because he's being played in a weird position, and and then the fact they went on and won it as well. I think Cancelo is out. I mean, Lewis is when I saw Lewis in the team, and I saw Pep's comments about him, and he was like, oh, he's a player who hasn't won a Premier League, so he's hungry. Well, I haven't won a Premier League. You're going to put me at left back.
Not after the hernia up, surely.
Yeah, not after my performance last night. But then I saw him play, and I thought, oh man, this guy is a gem. I really, really think Rico Lewis is going to go on and be an absolute top player for City. So yeah, amazing, scouting and management as well to bring him in. So he's a huge problem for Cancelo owners because he's going to get minutes because he's absolutely class and he's full of confidence and Pep's got his arm around him. So Cancelo's a sell. Cancelo is definitely a sell for me after this week. I'm just going to hope he gets one start, but he's definitely a sell.
It's interesting because City journalist Sam Lee posted the other night about, I think City have reached a turning point now. I think things in the camp are settling down and we'll start to see the likes of Foden and Cancelo back in favour. And then you look at the team sheet tonight and go, don't think so. Don't look like it, does it?
No,
because you look at the team sheet
about United.
Sorry,
you see his comments about United.
No,
as well.
I didn't see that. No.
He was like, "I'm going to do something so crazy."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I did. Saw that. I mean, what's he doing? Why is he saying that? Why? It's so unsettling, isn't it, for us, for him to say that?
Yeah, I guess he's trying to unsettle, Ten Hag and United. But it wouldn't surprise me if Ederson was a centre mid against. You just don't know what he's capable of. He's a horrible person for FPL, but football-wise, he is very exciting.
And I look at the team sheet. I've just had a look at the City team sheet now. There's no Walkers on the bench, right? So you've got to think that it's Walker and Lewis starting.
Yeah,
in game week, the first.
I don't mind Lewis as a pick. 3.9, and you're getting a City defender who currently is arguably first choice.
I know Walker is playing. Sorry, I didn't say Walker's playing right centre back. He's playing centre back tonight.
Walker's playing right.
Yeah, he's playing Cancelo, Walker, Laporte, and Gomez as a back four. So yeah, I'm now totally confused.
I mean, why?
Akanji's on the bench. So looking at the bench tonight, Akanji and Lewis are the most likely defenders to play 2 games. Stones is rumoured.
I don't even think it's worth talking about this anymore.
And Aki's on the bench as well.
If he's playing Walker at centre back, he's capable of anything, Mark. So I reckon we just move on.
I don't mind Walker at centre back. I don't mind him. I mean, this is the formation according to the BBC. I mean, we're not watching the game. I mean, let's face it. Garth Crooks could have done this team sheet, and who knows what formations he puts out. But it is still an odd lineup that he's come up with there, and. Does it signpost the team for game week 20? It signposts that Haaland's okay, Rodri's okay, De Bruyne's okay. They're all on the bench. Akanji's on the bench. Mahrez on the bench. Lewis and Ed. Yeah, I mean, the bench looks like the nucleus of his game week 20 squad. But we're making assumptions there, aren't we? But it does look like Cancelo's not going to at least play the first fixture.
No, it's. I would be absolutely amazed if he played against United. He's got a chance against Spurs. He's got a chance of coming on for minutes as well. Maybe he gets 20 or 30, which isn't the worst for him because he might have a point to prove. He might want to get forward and try and make something happen. But I think if you've got like enough doublers and you want something to do, or even if you want to sell, because I was talking to Gianni earlier, and he's thinking of selling Cancelo down to a Botman or a Lewis or someone, and then using that money to upgrade to Kane, for example. Perfectly viable, I think. If you can use that money from Cancelo well, then I think this week's a fine week to get rid of him, which is such a shame when he's got a double. Who would have thought, I mean, I went without Cancelo for so much of the first half of the season, and it was horrible, but I kind of got away with it. And now I brought him in and he's been dropped.
I
hate this season.
When I went without him in the restart, I didn't go Cancelo, I went Ederson. I couldn't have hoped for this outcome. I wasn't hoping for this outcome. I was thinking, I'll take the risk. Ederson clean sheets versus Cancelo's attacking returns. I had no idea that Cancelo would suffer the same fate as Foden. No. And I knew he had a bad World Cup. So you can only think there was reasons for that have then followed him to City back under Pep. And Pep's also said, you're not able to play at the moment for whatever reason.
But what can you do when an academy kid, comes in and stakes a claim in the way that Rico Lewis has as well?
That hasn't helped. Okay, let's look at some players. I'm not going to look at keepers. Let's look at defenders while we're talking about Cancelo. The last 6 game weeks, not too much movement there. There he is, fourth over the last 6 game weeks. So the starts that he did have over the last 6 game weeks, he has performed well. 0.35 XGI non-penalty per 90. Behind Robertson, Trippier and Perisic. These are the names that have been there all season. Trent is working his way up the list, 0.27. I guess we should consider Spurs defenders and particularly Doherty. I've got him in my team, so I don't need to say too much about him.
What a move.
I didn't
see that coming.
Making right calls is why you should be worried. The Ederson call now, the Doherty one. Got Zaha in as well, and he's got the double in him. I'm just saying. But what do you make of Doherty and Perisic? Because we've come back after the restart, and they've started all 3. And I did say, didn't I, when we had the show before the restart, if we could be sure on the Spurs wing backs, they would work their way into our thinking, one of them. So it does look now pretty clear that Conte's made his decision. It's Perisic and Doherty until they sign other players, right? Which is a possibility. They could make a signing in January, of course.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts?
Well, they're the 2 best wing backs at the club, so it was only a matter of time, I think, before they both kind of stake their claim. I mean, obviously on the right, Emerson Royale's days are done. When I went to the Spurs game and he got booed off by his own fans, I was like, there's no coming back from that. Spence obviously is Conte hates.
What's going on with Jed
for some reason? So yeah, I think Doherty's a good pick on the right because there isn't really any other options. I mean, Session started the season really well, didn't he, on the left? But Perisic is better. Perisic is a World Cup finalist player with bags of experience, and that's what they need at the moment because they are struggling in games. I know they won 4-0 against Palace, but in the first half they were absolutely awful, and they were awful in the game before that. And he needs players that he can rely on, and I think Perisic is going to prove to be a reliable player. So I like either of them, but I think Doherty at 4.6. I like it. I think when I saw him in your team, I thought, really, Doherty? That seems a bit old, but it's amazing what one game we can do because now I actually think it was a bit of a masterstroke.
Well, I felt that he was worth taking a risk on because I felt that there was a chance that given his form...
Morris have scored.
I know, I saw. Ex-Wolves player scoring against his former club. Maybe the script was written. I thought over the break, he obviously did well. He scored 4 goals in 3 games in the friendlies. And I thought to myself, well, before the injury, Conte looked to be really on his side. He gave him, you remember when Doherty came off and he gave him that cuddle during his good phase, and it was almost like Conte was saying, look, this is what I want you to perform like every week. Then he got the injury, and I just thought, I wonder whether he, because of the form he showed, whether Conte would be on his side and pick him over Royale. I also knew the feeling within the crowd that whenever Royale's name is bloody called out, they start booing. So I don't know if that's got to... I mean, I like think Conte wouldn't take any notice of that necessarily because he manages his team the way he wants, but he must be aware of that.
I can't remember a player who's so vilified by their own fans.
He's not that bad either. He's a good defender, but he's not... I don't think he's a good wing back. In that system, he's not the best, right? So I'm happy that's come off, and I do think now if you don't have one of Perisic or Doherty and you are selling Cancelo, why would you not go to one of those two with the double game week already confirmed? And even outside of the double game week, there's good fixtures to come for Spurs too. They are fixtures, I think, until they sign someone in January, which they might. We know that they're looking at a right wing back, and it's possible that then Doherty will lose his place. But that new signing will take weeks to settle in and assimilate, and so you'll get some joy, I think, out of Doherty.
The argument is that it's Spurs.
Yeah.
And we always talk about clean sheets. That's your bread and butter of your defenders. No matter how attacking they are, you need to get those clean sheets. And I just can't see them keeping many because I don't like the way they're set up, and I think teams go at them and can cause loads of problems.
They always concede the first goal, don't they?
Look at that record. It's an unbelievable record. They're chasing every game before they go into a match. That's why I think Perisic at 5'6" or 5'7" or whatever it is, I think that's just a little bit too much. But Matt Doherty at 4'6", I think I like it. I really like it.
I like him within what I've got, which is a rotation defence, a defence where you can pick and choose your three defenders based on fixture. It's good. If you've got him and you've got Bueno and Patterson, then it's a no. You can't rely on him because you can't rely on the Spurs defence. But if you can form a five which you can rotate, then he's got legs, because he then becomes a different. You saw I got 14 points from him because I had him. Now I wouldn't play him every week, but I might play him and try and catch those returns. Yeah. That's the thing you've got to hope for. It's worked for me once. We'll see how it wears off, shall we?
Just keep dialing out on him.
On that one, on that 14 pointer, because what's going to happen. There'll be weeks where he does it again and he's on my bench, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's only taking 19 weeks to get.
Exactly. It's happening. Elsewhere on the list, as we work with Dina there, 34th on the list, showing up for chances creating per 90. No. Not going to tempt you. Can't sell him to you. Rico Lewis has sneaked in over the last 6 with those 2 starts. 0.14, so he's beginning to show up on there, and I think we're going to see more of him, and perhaps him edge his way up this table. Luke Shaw's become a mainstay, isn't he? I think his recent form, he is 15th in this table, 0.20 XGI non-penalty per 90. He's in the top 10 for points per 90 recently. The data doesn't knock it out of the park, but fixtures are good, and he seems to be in his pomp again, doesn't he, in terms of form?
Yeah, and it's that security as well. When you see a player like that being put in at centre back, there's no risk, because Malacia is there, isn't he? And he had the kind of the spot for a little bit until Shaw kind of came back in, and Shaw is just by far, I think, the best option in that United defence. I mean, Dallo is there. He's 32nd on the list. His XGI non-penalty per 90 is awful, 0.12, but Shaw's is not that much better at 0.2. But I'm always wary of a player just coming back from injury as well. And especially when United have been so good defensively, you want to make sure you've got the best one. So, yeah, I think Shaw is must-have territory. Yeah,
no, that's fair enough. Let's look at midfielders over the last 6. And we gave you a preview of this earlier. Mahrez is top for XG on penalty penalty, 0.89. Just with the 209 minutes, the 2 starts. And then back to normality, we see Salah at the top. What's your take on Salah at the moment?
Well, I haven't got him, and I don't feel terrified of him. I feel like scared, a bit scared.
I'm like, fear factor out of 10, what would you say?
I'm like a 5.
Fear factor 5. Okay.
I'm like kind of under the blanket watching it. I'm not like behind the sofa crying and shaking. That's which is how I felt a lot of the time when I've been against that, because Liverpool just are weird, and Núñez is weird, and Salah's playing weird, and it's all just a bit, I don't know. I don't really, I can't see Liverpool scoring buckets loads of goals in a game, given how they've played so far this season. So he's probably got a monster haul coming in, because that's what he's capable of. His stats are really good, 0.79 XGI non-penalty. That is ridiculously high. That's like in keeping.
Not had a penalty yet this season.
I mean, that's maybe even better than we've seen in previous seasons. But I'm sticking faith with Darwin.
Are you? Are you staying with him? You're not moving to Kane?
No. I'm going to stick with Darwin. He's getting the chances.
Well, let's go to forwards when we're talking about Darwin. There he is, 3rd in our list over the last 6 game weeks. 0.85 XGI non-penalty per 90. In between Haaland and Nunes, there is Tony, which is interesting. No one's going to go Tony because of the injury, and also, who knows what's going to come by way of his suspension. But talking about Darwin, so last 6 starts, 2 goals, 2 assists, conversion rate 7.4. That's what it's about, isn't it? So the XG is coming his way big time. They're just not going in. The question is, are they not going in because he's a Timo Werner? He's a player who's not going to translate his goal-scoring form to the Premier League from previous leagues. Or are they not going in just because he's having a terrible run of variance and it's going to go for him eventually? Where are you sitting?
He is literally a cross between Timo Werner and Andy Carroll. That is, if I was to pick 2 players to describe Nunes, it would be those 2.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment, yeah. But I mean, Klopp believes in him. He believes there's a player in there. He's linked him to Lewandowski and said that he was similar in that he missed chances. What I can't understand about Nunes is his technique is just a bit weird. And I'm not one to judge someone on their football technique. Again, you should have seen me playing football last night. Absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But I watch him play, and like he just seems to do the weird, like wrong thing. You know, when he took a volley when he had loads of time. Or he like sidefoots it when he should have like powered it or something. And I don't know. He's not a natural. He's definitely not a natural finisher. He relies on that element of chaos.
So,
to be in the
what
right
do you
position.
make of the goal against Wolves in the cup? Did he shin that, or did he mean it?
Did he
shin it? Do you think he shinned that?
Someone's tweeted, didn't they? Say it was like, oh, this is one of the greatest goals ever or something. And I was just like, did he mean that? I don't know. It's hard to know, but who cares? Like, all you want is a player in the right position who can get lucky in that way. And we said that right at the start of the season. We were like, this is a guy who is just going to be in the right place and he's going to get chances and he's going to score. And I still think at 8-9, when I don't want to invest all that money in Salah, but I want to have some part of the Liverpool pie, I'm keeping faith in him. I think it's going to turn.
So you don't think you want to back Liverpool to the tune of Salah, but you're okay keeping Darwin?
Oh God, is this really the hill I'm gonna die on?
That seems a bit odd to me. I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, as someone who's trying to chase you down, I'm quite happy that you're saying these things. But I've got to question it. I've got to like. If you fancy Liverpool, you stick with Salah, don't you?
If Nunes stays in the team, I don't think there's going to be 4 million difference between Nunes and Salah, based on what I've seen. I think Nunes will start getting goals. I just think he will. With these stats, no player is going to have an XGI non-penalty per 90 of 0.85, and that's consistent. In fact, that's under what he's been sort of over the season. We've seen him on the top of this list with just under Haaland with like over 1 in terms of chances. No player is going to keep getting that level of chances and keep not scoring.
No,
I will say it right now.
I unless he is a Timo Werner job and he's arrived and he's just not going to reach the heights he's had in other leagues, or he is going to find the back of the net with regularity and deliver on that XG. And I think it will be the latter. I still don't know if he's going to outscore Salah and be that better value given the pens and the extra points and so on. But it's close. But I've got a dilemma in that I've got Salah and I could move to De Bruyne for the doubles, but I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to. I think eventually I want to move Salah to Kane, and it might be, I mean, if I'm going to do anything this game week to cash in on the doubles, it would be to sell Salah in order to move Kane in up front rather than move to De Bruyne. Because of the fixtures that City have got. And also De Bruyne hasn't delivered, so far since the restart, 0 points from De Bruyne, right?
But that's it. When I'm talking about not wanting Salah and not going for Salah, it's another part of that is because I think if I was going to go with 2 premiums, I think Kane is clear at the moment of De Bruyne and Salah. Yeah. So I've got Darwin, and it's like, oh, but surely you want Salah. Was if I sold Darwin, I wouldn't be getting Salah. I'd be going to Kane, right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Salah isn't on my shopping list at the moment, basically.
So if you were in my shoes now, and you could move to De Bruyne from Salah, would you absolutely do it as your third City player?
Absolutely is difficult. I probably would, I think, given that we know they've got 2 doubles coming up. And the fact he's had this big rest as well. I would expect De Bruyne to comfortably outscore Salah over the next 3 game weeks. Enough for that move to be worth it. But like we've said earlier, FPL doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I'm looking at Salah's fixtures over this run. He goes to Brighton this game week, then he's got Chelsea at home, he's got Wolves away, he's got Everton at home, and in that time, De Bruyne could play 2 more games, given that they've got 2 double game weeks, and we'd expect De Bruyne to play. Maybe Villa at home could be a potential rest for De Bruyne if the replay with Arsenal happens.
It's not a bad run for Liverpool, though, is it? I mean, Brighton, you'd expect them to score
And
against
it's not
us.
a bad. Well, this is it. It's not a bad run for Liverpool either, is it? So it's not. It's not a slam dunk, given that we haven't seen De Bruyne. You know, we're going back to that data that over the last 6 matches, and yes, he's up there for XGI non-penalty. He's 4th in this table of midfielders, 0.68. But in 540 minutes, he's delivered 1 goal, 1 assist, compared to Salah's 4 goals and 1 assist in 539 minutes. So Salah has outscored him in the last 6 game weeks, which would suggest it's not as straightforward a sell, perhaps. If you're going on X-Mins, you've got to go De Bruyne, I guess.
Yeah.
Gives me a lot to think about.
It is. I think it's a tricky decision. It's one I'm glad I don't have to make, because I've got De Bruyne in place. I think I would probably do it, but it would be quite reluctantly.
I mean, that's since the restart. 270 minutes, no goals, no assists for De Bruyne. XGI non-penalty of 0.64. Salah beats that at 0.81. You are right. Salah's XG non-penalty is at higher than it was. Higher than it was even last season at the moment.
Yeah, so high.
They are creating chances. He's not taking them he's not quite in Nunes fashion, but he's not taking all these chances he's getting. It's a tough decision. I have yet to make up my mind what to do with Salah at the moment and where to go with my third. It's particularly now I hear about the Stones' potential injury tonight.
Yeah.
That really does muddy the waters. Let's briefly look at forwards. Last 6 game weeks, we're not going to touch on Haaland. We've talked about it enough. Tony, we've already said. Darwin, we've already said. So where do you stand on Martial? If you don't have Martial and you say you have, I don't know, I've got Mitrovic and Nketiah, should I be considering Martial for this double?
I don't think you can, given that we don't know the why he was out that squad. I mean, you can wait and see what Ten Hag says in the press conference. Come over to Scout, watch me and it'll be Joe and Neil this week talking about that. We'll have the information. But assuming he's fit, the trouble is they've got Weghorst now, haven't they? We haven't even mentioned
He's coming back. He's coming back.
Weghorst.
Not confirmed in FPL yet. So, when we're looking at this forward chart, wait and see. In a few weeks, there'll be a new name near the top, maybe. But yeah.
No, quite a few people saying he's been confirmed as rested, Martial, which is good.
Oh,
which is good.
There you go.
Which is good news for me. I mean, what Weghorst means surely is 70-minute appearances for Martial, because we know what his fitness is like and the fact he can't start 90, and it means he can get the odd rest because now Weghorst can come in. I don't think Weghorst massively impacts Martial. I don't think Martial's a much worse option, because I think actually he needs a rest to play well. And a tired Martial isn't going to get you points, but a Martial who is at least rested a little bit because they've got another option is probably more likely. So yeah, I'm happy with him. I'm keeping him. I think he can. He's been really disappointing though. I was really disappointed against Bournemouth not to get anything from him. Playing up front, and there are good other options. I wouldn't be moving for him, but I'm happy to keep him.
Yeah, fair enough. I noticed Severt's in the chat. Remember Severt? Severt was the FPL manager who had the best record for picking captaincies.
Hi Severt. Yeah, that was a fun.
Lovely to see you.
And then he was awful when we used to pick next year.
He had a bad season, yeah. But we the best FPL managers can have really bad seasons. What of it?
Who are they then? The best?
I don't know. But I mean, people consider. Well, I don't know. I've got myself in the right mess there.
Yeah. Caught you out there. And there's one player that I'd like to mention.
Go on the chart.
If we go back to midfielders, just my transfer really. There's 2 players. Odegaard is third on the list of the last 6 game weeks. I mean, these kind of stats is the reason why I moved for him. I mean, that to me is when just everything falls into place. I think Arsenal are just a joy to watch at the moment. Like the Jesus injury, I went with no Arsenal attackers because I was wondering what the Jesus injury would do to them. Well, it's done absolutely nothing, because the passing and the play that they've got at the moment is absolutely kind of incredible.
They've come back stronger, haven't they, in terms of their interplay without Jesus, which I didn't expect.
They're just absolutely brilliant to watch. And Odegaard is at the heart of everything, absolutely everything. And we wondered as well, is he going to have to operate in a slightly deeper role because Jesus isn't there? No, Look at those stats. 0.69. I didn't think Odegaard would ever reach that level of XGI. I thought he'd always be assist the assister, or something. But he just I know it because I was choosing between him and Mitoma. I'm not sure where Mitoma is on this list. Is he on here?
This is the last 6. Matoma should be in there. I don't see. Yes, there he is. 22nd. There he is. 22nd. 0.17. 0.17.
Yeah. No, that's his XGI non-penny per shot. His XGI non-penny per night is 0.4, which is high, especially for a 4.9 million. Yeah, so I was between Mitoma and Odegaard basically, but in the end, I'm going to move for Mitoma, but I had to prioritise getting an Arsenal midfielder in. So I guess my question to you is: do you feel the same? If you were picking one Arsenal,
I absolutely feel the same, and I am selling Ben White to clear the way to get Odegaard.
Yeah.
Right now, I have got Eddie up front, and I've got Saka. Eddie, I know, is not long term. Well, he's done pretty well, so he could be longer term than we think. Yeah. I mean, Jesus. I saw pictures of him back doing weight training, top half weight training with his leg in the brace. He's not back for a long, long time. A long, long time. We're talking probably Easter before we see him, if we see him. So, and Eddie has performed at a level where I don't think Arteta's going to be that worried, right? He's going to strengthen in January, and he might buy some more backup in terms of another forward or someone who can play in that role. But I don't think Nketiah's under threat. So I don't think he's someone I need to move out yet. But I want Odegaard and Saka. I think the value that Arsenal offer, and yes, they offer great value in defence, but we've already talked about Doherty, Trippier, a City defender. There are good defenders there. I mean, you can go Botman, you can double up on Newcastle. That's the other thing that you could look at, right? So there is such value in defence available. Luke Shaw. These aren't expensive defenders to get in good defences. I don't need to keep Ben White. Arsenal are a very strong defence and they'll keep clean sheets, but I think I can find points in defence elsewhere. Meanwhile, there's a 6.7 midfielder playing for the top of the table team and getting 0.69 XGI non-penalty per 90.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
I've got to get him as well as Saka, I think.
Yeah, that was my kind of logic with it, because I thought I do really want Mitoma, and obviously my Brighton bias is kicking in. I think he's going to do really well, but I looked at these numbers and I was just like, that's a no-brainer.
It's the eye test as well, though. It's like the eye test translate to the numbers, don't they?
He's absolutely playing ridiculously. He's playing in the best attacking team, I think, as the main creator and attacker, and he looks brilliant. And yeah, it's painful not having an Arsenal midfielder. So yeah, sorry Mitoma, but it was an easy choice in the end.
Player of the year, Odegaard?
Could be. Hard to know who else.
If Arsenal win the title,
if Arsenal win the title,
he's got to be
captain as well. Yeah. Captain as well, right?
I mean, for me at the moment, he is player of the year.
Yeah, has to be.
In terms of his progression from last season, we did not expect him to be. He was one of the players that we had an eye on, and I think there was some soothsayers pre-season saying, "Oh, Odegaard's the one to look at, not Martinelli, not Saka. Odegaard's the one." Because we had that choice, and because Saka was a sure bet on pens and Martinelli was such good value, we were somewhat distracted. But there were some saying Odegaard, and some went. I think Rubber Ducky went Odegaard. Yeah. Look at it now. He is arguably the stronger of the three in terms of FPL assets. Saka might have it still with pens, I guess, but I think
again it's where our kind of biases from previous seasons kick in, right? Because I think if I was just coming into FPL for the first season this year and I'd seen Odegaard play, I'd be like, I want him straight away. But because I've seen him play previously and thought he's not really an FPL asset for us, it's just tempered me a little bit, and that's why I haven't moved for him. But yeah, I've got him now, so happy.
Just bringing up chat for a minute, because Southampton have gone 1-up against City, which
oh my God,
is not what I would expect either. But obviously with Forest 1-up in the other game and the prospect of Forest drawing Southampton in a semi-final, that's very,
it's
very
almost like
indeed.
Playing Walker at centre-back wasn't a good idea.
It's almost like Pep has pepped himself again, isn't it? I don't know. Unbelievable. Why he complicates things so much. We don't want it. We don't want the complication. Let's talk about predictions then, because look at that. I've turned you around on this as well. 53%. That is the highest correct outcome percentage we've seen since we've started this.
Just had to say it, didn't you? Yeah.
I got 6 scores correct last time out of the 9. What outcomes? 6 outcomes. You got 3. So I'm on 53%. You're on 49. You're ahead of me on correct scores, 17 to 13. But yeah, I think 50% is what we normally get. So anything over that, I'm very happy with indeed. Let's move to game week 20 and the predictions. We've talked about some of these scores.
Just one thing I will say quickly on those predictions is if you look at the list of where we've ranked them, I go from I got 90% one week and then got 20% the next. So you're consistently getting the 50%. I'm just so erratic.
I'm the Harry Kane, aren't I? I'm just consistent returns, but nothing spectacular. But you've got that big game week in you. But I don't know. Everything can change, and it might change for game week 20. Although not with you predicting 3-3 scorelines involving Aston Villa, I wouldn't have said. But there you go.
Isn't it?
Okay, tell me about this then. Game week 20, Aston Villa Leeds. You see a lot of goals on Friday, do you, to start the game week off?
Yeah, why not? I went for it. 3-3. I just think both teams are a bit scrappy at the moment. You don't really know kind of what you're going to get, and Villa have been struggling a bit. Particularly with their attack, but Leeds have also been struggling defensively. I just think they're both going to kind of just go at it, hammer and tongs, and it's going to be a big score. No real.
Yeah, I mean, the Leeds defence is there to be shot at. I think over the last 6 game weeks, I think they're bottom of the defence. Let me just bring it up. I think they are. Yeah, last 6 game weeks, bottom defence. Actually conceded non-penalty per 92. So they will give lots of opportunities to that Villa attack. It's just who do we fancy in the Villa attack to score goals? Bailey, as we've seen, drives himself to tears with his accuracy of his shooting. Watkins is always frustrating. So that's my only doubt about that's gone. I've gone 2-1 Leeds. I really like Leeds at the moment. I saw them in the Cup on Sunday against Cardiff. Rodrigo came on and changed the game. I really like Rodrigo. We talk about midfielders that, when we talked about you can't really afford to carry a Man City midfielder who's not playing, the reason there are players like Odegaard and Rodrigo who you really want. You want those players because he's having another great season. Billy is in the chat and he is moderating chat as I see. Yes, very good. Good to see you, Billy. Should be in bed. What is the time? 8:30. Yeah. Please, no comments about hair transplants, please. Otherwise, Billy will highlight them. I don't know why I said that. That's probably the last thing I should say. Okay, so I haven't had one, by the way. I don't know why people are saying that. Someone actually tweeted, "Did you have one? It looks really good." I'm like, no. I was like, should I have a... It's crazy, isn't it?
That's just what someone who had a hair transplant
I would say.
Just say it.
You swine. Okay, let's move swiftly on. Man United, Man City. I've gone 1-1. You've gone 1-0 City.
I don't really feel too confident about it, really. I think United might score. I think City either win it to 1-0 or United score. There you go. That's my insight.
Billy's gone in chat and gone, he did, by the way. I'm going to kill him. Don't know what he's talking about.
The worst decision ever made.
I love the way that Billy is. Raptors in there. Look at Raptors comment. This is a classic. Look.
Show it what we pulled buttons.
Well, if I have a season like yours, maybe I should. Unbelievable. It is funny how Billy's added a new dimension to this show in that he's adding the humour in the second half.
No, well, someone's got to.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. We don't predict goals there. I think you're right. It's going to be a tight game, isn't it? I mean, United are in such strong form. Ten Hag has really sorted them out. For once, they're going to go into this game with some confidence. Particularly if Southampton turn City over tonight.
2-0 Southampton.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Nathan Jones is turning it round, isn't he?
They were calling for his head. It's like, there's like 85% of fans wanted him sacked or something. He's been in about 4 games.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I'm with you. I think it'd be a tight game. So 1-1. You've gone the City win though. Brighton, Liverpool, goals galore. Goals. Yep. This is the Matoma demolishing of Trent you're predicting, isn't it?
I mean, I got it completely wrong against Arsenal. I thought we'd win that game, and they were absolutely incredible. We still look good attacking though. We still got a couple of goals against the league's best defence. But I just think like our first game. I know De Zerbi wasn't in charge because we had Crofts in charge. But our first game when Potter left was against Liverpool, and they tried to press us and we passed it around them and we got loads of chances and scored. And I kind of just feel like our system suits this kind of game. And now De Zerbi's had a bit of time to work with them, and Liverpool haven't been that great anyway. And I think Matoma is going to have Trent on absolute toast. I think this is a really good opportunity for Brighton to win this. So I've gone for us to win it 3-2.
I've gone 2-2. I think there will be goals. I do struggle. I look at both defences and question them, and I do think, this is why it's hard to sell Salah, because I do think there's some joy in that game for him. And who knows, Darwin might hit the net as well. You never know. It does happen. Everton-Southampton, by contrast, if this was not a 3 o'clock game, we would be shopping for seeds and conifers, wouldn't we, for this one?
I mean, you've gone for 0-0. I've gone for a 1-0. It could be 1-0 either way. I mean, who cares?
Southampton tonight, though, off the back of this, I've gone a 0-0. I think they'll get a point. Everton have got to win their home game, so I can see why you've gone 1-0. But I think that's about as bad as it gets, isn't it? That game. Yeah. I don't think it'd be pretty to watch. There's so much at stake. Southampton needs something from the game. Everton, it's a home game. They've got to win their home games because they've struggled away.
It's a 6-pointer, Mark. It's a 6-pointer.
Yeah. Forest Leicester, almost another 6-pointer, really, when you look at it. We're level with Leicester on points. We've both gone 1-0 Forest. It's so good to see you finally back in a Forest win.
Yeah, I mean, Forest are good at home. I think they're improving. I think the break was good for them. I think Gibbs White and Awaniyi
could be injured now, though. He's not in the squad tonight, really? So I think he's injured. Okay. So Johnson's up front with Scarpa one side, Gibbs White the other. I don't mind that. I don't know a huge amount about Scarpa, but I know you're excited about him, which I assume means he's fairly decent. There's a bit of a buzz around Forest at the moment, and I think it's the complete opposite of Leicester, because Rodgers is now already turning to, we've only had 15 million to spend, I'm not a magician, all this stuff. So, bloody hell, how about you inspire your players a little bit? And you were doing all right before the restart with the same group. So I know Maddison's not there. The injuries are bad low for them as well. They've had.
I don't know, but they're always bad. They're always bad at Leicester. They've been rubbish. They shouldn't be struggling in the way that they have been. I know injuries are tough, but I still think they've got a decent enough team to compete. It's Maddison. Like they're just a one-man team. When Maddison doesn't play, they are awful, and Maddison won't be playing, and so I think Forest to win.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, I do hope you're right, because that will put us 3 points ahead of Leicester, and we would be looking like we're safe.
My dad's been on the big screen. He'll be happy with that.
Did Delia put that one up, or Billy? Billy's aware of your dad and is willing to. Everyone's crashing in on this. It's like family affair. This show now these days. Good to see you, Chris.
We never agree as well on a score. So for him to say he agrees on 3-2, that's
how's he been with his Brighton predictions this season? Good or bad?
He did well at first, but then he went off De Zerbi, didn't he? And he was very negative about him for a while, and then he's come back. But he did say, I think I said on the last Blackbox, that he said he feels like De Zerbi's now turned a corner and he's backing him. So he's positive again. But it's rare for us to agree, which means it almost certainly won't be a Brighton win.
Let's get on to Wolves West Ham. I've gone a 1-1. You've gone a 2-1 West Ham. Wolves losing at Forest tonight. I do like Wolves under the new manager Lopetegui. Is that how you pronounce it? I've been trying to practice that.
Yeah.
And I do think that he has. They impressed me at Anfield. I thought that they kept the ball well. They had a threat. And obviously they've got new player. They've got Kuna in up front, who looks like he's got a bit about him. They'll buy more. So I do think that Wolves could turn it around, and they're not going to stay down there much longer. But I feel the same about West Ham as well. I mean, surely there's more to... I mean, are they really in trouble? I mean, they are. They look like they are, but do you think they'll get out of it?
At least Wolves have got that bit of fresh air and a new manager and, a bit of a bounce and stuff. Whereas West Ham, I just think are sinking without a trace. I mean, I've given them a win in this game. If they don't win this, I think Moyes is out. He's got to be out. I mean, there's too much quality in that West Ham team for them to be anywhere near a relegation battle. They should be comfortable top 10. They should be a comfortable top 10 team. I think Moyes is on borrowed time, and the longer they wait, the more you think they're going to get dragged into it more. So it's a big game for West Ham. I think they'll scrape through. I'm backing Paqueta to be their hero, like Richarlison was.
Well, he's got to come, isn't it? You're going to play the Sky Q thing again. That was a good quote. That was.
It was good.
David
It was
Moyes
good.
with Paqueta is like my grand with Sky Q.
Yeah, you like that one.
Right, Brentford Bournemouth. Before we do, we've got to explain the rules again for the Garden Centre game, because people are screaming. They're going mad in chat about surely Everton Southampton had to be Garden Centre game. Got to explain again. We cannot. It's got to be a televised game, because the idea is you see the game on telly and you go, actually, I'll miss this one, and this will be the one we'll go down the Garden Centre. You can't do that for a 3 o'clock, right? So
you get as frustrated describing that as I do the triple captain.
I know. So we come to Brentford Bournemouth, which is the Garden Centre game. Right.
There he is.
There we go. Now, looking at the scoreline you predicted, you wouldn't think it was. You've gone 4-1 to Brentford.
Yeah.
I don't want to be shopping for seeds if there's going to be 5 goals.
I'm not going to the Garden Centre for that game. I think
right.
It's going to
be maybe I'm wrong then. Okay.
I just think Bournemouth have been really bad and Brentford have been really good. And Tony's back. Is he Tony back?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure if he's fit yet.
They didn't even need him. I mean, they beat Liverpool, with O'Brien up top. I think there's just something about them at the moment. And I think any team that's playing Bournemouth, particularly at home, have got to be confident of a big win, because I think they're the worst team in the league.
Yeah, data showing that Bournemouth are now being found out. I mean, I think under O'Neill, they bounced for the first 3 or 4 games, looked like they had the spirit in them to survive. Now, depth of squad, and I guess with games coming thick and fast, which they are going to be coming thick and fast in the second half of the season, squad depth is a factor. They can strengthen, but I still look at it and think they now look like they are likely relegation candidates, and I do think Brentford will beat them. Wissa is obviously taking the role up front, and he's a midfielder in FPL. We didn't speak about him when we got to midfield, but he could be an option in weeks to come if Tony does get the ban as expected, couldn't he? So I'm not going to go in Bumo. Not going in Bumo deep again.
No.
I see FBL tipped in Bumo this week. I'm like, no.
I mean, it's a fun sort of left field punt, but it's a bit left field, isn't it?
I guess he's on pens though, with Tony not there. At least I think.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I mean, he's in the scout picks this week. If you're looking for there might be some free hits being played this week if people only got one doubler and stuff. Yeah. And if you're looking for a 1 week punt, then maybe. It was nice when with Tony on the bench and Brian ran over to him and they were kind of celebrating together. I like that kind of strike partnership. It's like us if we played 5-a-side, Mark. I'd have run over to you.
You'd kind of like hobble, wouldn't you? With the...
and I'd never score, so it would never happen. But
no.
we can dream.
And I'd never be on the sideline supporting you either.
No. So apart from all of that, that's a great analogy.
Exactly. Let's get to Palace. Chelsea at home to Palace. This isn't a great game, is it? This was close, right?
I would have made.
But it's not. I don't think it's live. I think Newcastle Fulham's the live game. But it was my first fault. It was my first fault. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that's the one I would have gone for. If it's not the service. Yeah. I mean, who cares? Chelsea are just like a 10th place team now. Palace are awful. I don't, whatever. There's little investment. I mean, I know we still got some of our Chelsea assets, but no one is surely considering any Chelsea attackers. Zaha, maybe people are considering, but
where do you stand on that? We haven't spoke about Palace tonight. Is there a reason for that?
Just don't invest in a bad team. That's like rule number 1. I don't like the way they're set up this season. I think Vieira is in trouble because they're not doing the things that were so successful last year, and he's not getting the most out of some of his talented attackers. So I have absolutely no interest in them whatsoever. Just like I have no interest in Chelsea.
I think this is a dull game, and arguably there's quite a bit at stake here. Palace could get sucked into that relegation battle when you look at the fixtures that they've got. I mean, neither of their fixtures in game week 20 are strong. I think they will lose them both. I've gone for 2-1 to Chelsea here. Chelsea need a win. Potter needs a win more than anything.
He's cracking up as well. See his interviews. He had that glow up when he signed. He looked great, and now he's gone back to looking like an old man. And he just I've never seen him react in the way that he's doing in press conferences. I know he's asked more kind of charged questions because it's different journalists. They're trying to kind of get a reaction from him. It's not like lovely Brighton local journalists and all that. I know there's more pressure and all of that, but the way he snaps at journalists, the way he defends himself, the way he does all these things, just has all the hallmarks of someone who is really struggling.
Is there a tiny bit of you pleased to see him struggle? Or a large part of you trying to...
I don't know. I feel weird. At the end of the day, it's it's his career and his job, and I don't want to wish harm or ill on anyone. But there is a tiny part of me that's enjoying it. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Newcastle Fulham is televised in the UK, and we've gone the home win. It's hard not to see a home win here. You think Fulham will nick a goal against the Newcastle defence? Just don't see it. I don't want to play Mitrovic in this game.
Really?
I either want to sell him or want to bench him.
Just
don't.
It's just Mitrovic against his old club. I just like that kind of that script. But my God, Arsenal was so good. I mean, what, semi-finals of the FA Cup, challenging for top 4. Incredible.
Fantastic season under Howe, yeah. Spurs Arsenal, we've both gone the away win. I think Spurs could get a goal. You've gone 2-0, I've gone 2-1. Not too much to say there, really, other than we both obviously applaud Arsenal on the way they're playing at the moment, and we're back in a win. It's not edgy derby, do you think? Do you think it'd be?
Yeah, it could be. I just think Arsenal are too good. I don't really. I look at the way Spurs play, and I think in basically every position on the pitch, apart from Kane, obviously up top, I think Arsenal are better. And they play more as a team, and they're going to create more chances. Always tricky with the derby, but you've got to back Arsenal, I think.
Yep. Then we go to Crystal Palace United, the second game for both teams, and we've gone away win, 2-0 for me, 3-0 for you. Yeah.
Well, this is what's putting me towards
Rashford.
Potentially going for Rashford. Yeah, this second game, because the City game just a bonus, and I think United can get. I know I've gone for a 1-0 City, so it's hard, but I think that could, that there could be goals United in that. Then look at Palace and think they're going to be confident against them. They're going to go into this game full of confidence. I know Palace are at home, but this double is better than City's double, for sure. Especially because United are at home in the first game.
The only thing that would put me off is you're captaining a player and banking on the second fixture when he's got a fixture to play. Anything could happen. He could get an injury, so that's the worry. If the first game is that bad, then we've seen it with Mitrovic, haven't you? We went in and he only played one game. Luckily, that first game was against Leicester. If that first game is more difficult, we probably wouldn't have gone Mitrovic captain on the basis that he could get booked to miss the second one. But because it was Leicester, we were willing to go with it. Whereas in the case of Rashford, I guess he is injury prone, but he's looking as fit as he's ever been right at the moment. So.
Yeah, I don't think we can worry about. I mean, Haaland's had injury problems before, isn't he? But you're not going to captain him just because of that. I guess you just hope he plays both. I don't know. I just feel like Rashford's being overlooked this week, and. Yeah, I can't say for sure that I'm going to have the balls to go through with it, but I am tempted.
And then finally, City Spurs, you've gone 2-2, and I've gone 2-1. So you think Conte will go there and have some joy again?
I think he will. Yeah, hit me on the counter attack will be the strategy. Son and Kane have linked up so well against them before, and I think City are going to try and just see this out and have quite a cagey game, but I don't think that's what Spurs will want, and they'll attack them like they have done in previous seasons and done well from it. So I'm backing goals in this one, a couple of goals.
Yeah, I think City will need to score more than one. I think it will be edgy. I think it depends how early the first goal goes in, because I think Pep will want a goal to calm them down, and then I think they will score a couple, but it could easily go 1-0 because I don't think Pep will gamble too much in this game. I think he'll play in quite a conservative way and be very wary of Spurs on the break because of what's happened in previous encounters. So it's a very difficult game week to call for City, isn't it? In a game week where, as we spoke about earlier in the show, the triple captain is tempting, but the fixtures and the game states are hard to predict, but they don't. There is always a possibility with these two games that the game state could go against a lot of goals and a lot of points for Haaland.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah. All right, we agree on quite a lot tonight.
It's weird, isn't it? I think this is probably the episode. We're on episode 90. We're agreeing more than we've ever agreed.
We are. I've just realised that the captaincy data that I've put together doesn't include the double game week for United, because I did this before that dropped in. So Rashford isn't in here. So this is all bogus, really. I didn't expect to actually touch on this because I didn't think it would be even a conversation point.
That's maybe the one thing that we don't agree on so much.
But you do feel that Rashford will be in the equation.
Again, I think the problem is Haaland's penalties. as well. That's just such a big factor for him, especially when you've got 2 games like that, and Rashford doesn't have those. That's probably the thing that pushes me towards Haaland more than anything, especially in cagey games, because cagey games are often decided by, something like that, like a penalty. But it's something to think about.
I've taken the data off the screen, so I don't want to mislead anyone because Rashford should certainly be in there. But I don't think I've got no. I don't think I've got the balls to go against Haaland with the triple captain. I don't think I could go against him with the captaincy low. Rashford is tempting, but it's like I said, you are banking on that second game, and there's always that nagging risk there. And I think they could score against United, and I've gone with a 1-1. So I do think United have got a goal in them. And Rashford, it's just Rashford's consistency over these 6-7 games that we've seen has been incredible. I continue it.
And I think that link up of Martial, Anthony, and Rashford is going to cause problems, and it's just whether City can manage that and weather it, or if United break through. I don't know. I regret my prediction of 1-0 City. I think United will get one.
And FPL Spartan is saying that Rashford took the last penalty when Bruno was on the pitch, and so there's a possibility
he did.
He's now got pens. Yeah,
that is actually a very, very good point. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, I think the EO is, if you don't captain Haaland, the EO is the fear. There's going to be damage anyway if we don't triple captain him, if we don't captain him. And
I just think that's a
big risk.
Double is better for Rashford though. It's tempting.
Well, I'm not going to, for the reasons that I'm trying to chase you down, maybe I shouldn't discourage him.
This is exactly what you want me to do. It's exactly what you want me to go for rogue picks like Rashford, the double game week. You just stick it on Haaland.
I'm gonna play it simple, I think, because I think that it's paid off. But I've taken some risks, and they've come in, so I'm gonna be more calculated with the risks that I'm taking. And I don't think going against Haaland for the captaincy is one. Going against him with the triple captain is one I'm willing to take and probably will do.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well is my team's on the screen. My team looks good this week. I mean, Cancelo's a problem, but I've got 7 doublers, including Cancelo, with Shaw, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Kulusevski, Rashford, Haaland, and Martial. Is that 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I've made my transfer. Odegaard's come in. Obviously, Cancelo is an issue, but I'm probably not going to make another move for him. I'm happy with my team. It's just whether if I keep it on Haaland and just, because sometimes when you've got like a good looking team, that kind of you've mentioned it before, it makes you just want to play it a little bit safer, doesn't it, with the captaincy? Because you think, if I just captain Haaland and everyone's got it and the rest of my team is decent, then I'm probably going to get a green arrow. Yeah. Whereas if I go for Rashford and Haaland gets 4 goals, then it doesn't matter how good the rest of my team is because I'm going to get a red. So I don't know. That's my only decision really. It's just who I captain. I'm probably 60-40 on Haaland, but we'll see how I feel on Saturday.
So for the podcast, it's Kepa and goal, Cancelo, Trippier, Shaw, De Bruyne, Kulusevski, Rashford, Odegaard, Haaland, captain, Darwin and Martial. It is strong. And it's crazy. When you look at that team, there's not a weak player there. It just shows you the value that's available this season. Yes, you've got a weak bench. Your budget players are on the bench, but you've got money in the bank? Have you got?
I've got enough money in the bank next week to do Andreas Pereira to Matoma, and that's going to be such a lovely move. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. And I guess you have got 7, but one of them is Cancelo. So I don't think you're going to get a double from him, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. Not. So no more transfers. You're sticking with the 1. You're not spending 4.
I could move Cancelo. I might move Cancelo.
What have you got to lose by moving Cancelo out to someone like a Doherty?
I could even get Perisic or Doherty.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you're going to get 2 points back. You would have thought. You might. I would. You're not. Yeah. Cancelo's not a keep, is he, at the moment?
No, he's not. And if I want to get Matoma anyway, then I can't keep Cancelo next week. So maybe I do just do it this week. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe I do move
what
Cancelo.
Am I doing? Talking you into sense.
Thank you. That's really good advice, Mark. Thank you.
Just advised you to got one of my players. This is my team. Ederson in goal, Shaw, Trippier, Doherty.
Oh, the deadline's Friday, sorry.
Yes.
Just because I said Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah, well, don't mislead people with that. Ederson, Shaw, Trippier, Doherty, Trossard, who's obviously going to go, Salah, Saka, Zaha, Haaland, Mitrovic, and Eddie Nketiah on the bench. Up front. On the bench, Andreas White and Estupiñán. So I haven't made transfers yet. Now, Zaha and Trossard were ripe to be removed, but with Zaha with a double game week, I now keep him. And he could have one to come in 21 even as well. Trossard, I got with double game weeks in mind, and they haven't materialised yet. They might do, but Trossard, tell me about Trossard. Not going to play, is he? He's off, isn't he? He's off.
I find the rumours of him leaving for Spurs weird, because he doesn't. I don't know why he would move to Spurs, where they've got Richarlison and Son who play on the left, and he can't play anywhere else really, because he's not the best number 10. He's not the best number 9. There's just, I mean, the key thing with Trossard was De Zerbi saying his attitude isn't right.
Yeah,
he needs to do more. He needs to run. He needs to do this. He is not the same player that he was before the restart, and whether that's because of Belgium,
said that as well, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he just isn't, and you can see, you know, he was playing in that false nine. I watched the first game; his touch was off. He wasn't. And you said to me, "You're worried about him," and I was like, "No, I'm not really worried. You know, everyone can have a bad game." And then he has another one, and you think, that's now a concern. So yeah, I mean, I did an article for Scout on Brighton, which people can check out. But essentially, I just think Matoma is just so by far our best asset. McAllister's coming back as well. McAllister's an interesting option, given that he's got penalties as well. And I think De Zerbi's hinted at a more advanced role for him in the side, so he might be someone that people look to consider. But Trossard is an absolute no-go, and yeah, he was my priority sale.
So I think there was people in the chat asking who's the best replacement for Trossard. Now, obviously, long term, I haven't got Rashford, so I've got to get Rashford, and Odegaard's on my list as well. So I will get I will get Rashford in. He's definitely coming in. Yep. Will I make a second transfer, and where will that second transfer go? Will that be Salah to De Bruyne, or what I was going to do, I was going to clear White out and get a City defender so I can then get Odegaard in ahead of his double to come, because I want Odegaard instead of White as my third Arsenal player. That was going to be Stones, but now there's rumours of an injury. Do I risk going to Akanji or Aki, or do I just do Salah to De Bruyne, or do I consider Mahrez? Or, that would be radical, but could do. Or do I even go further? Do I sell Salah? Do I get rid of Mitrovic? Do I get Kane in and go, Rashford in for Trossard, Mahrez in for Salah, and then Mitrovic in for Kane?
Mm.
That's an option too, because I want Kane long term, definitely.
Yeah. His consistency is ridiculous. And I look back to when I started climbing up the ranks before the restart. It was to do with the fact I took my money out of defence and I had Kane, and then I've started the restart and I've gone down the ranks, and it's because I put my money in defence and I haven't got Kane. So it says to me as well that I maybe need to start thinking about ways of bringing him back, because that consistency is incredible. It's really highlighted by that double the double game week thing that you showed, just that level of consistency each week. Double Spurs, even though they haven't been that great.
So obviously when we have double game weeks, you can take hits and have some assurance you'll get some of the points back. So if I was to take a -8 and get Rashford, Mahrez and Kane, I should get those 6 additional points. Mahrez should start both. Kane certainly will. And Rashford certainly will. But it's a risk, isn't it?
You were so nice to me about going for a Spurs wing back that I can't advocate Mahrez for you.
No. It's fun, isn't it? It's fun.
Is it fun? I always feel like that about him, and then it's not fun when he doesn't play.
But if I was getting rid of Salah to get Kane in, who else would you go for if I've got Rashford? Would you go Odegaard early on? Just because Odegaard's only got 1 game. Is he going to outscore Mahrez with 2? Possibly.
I just don't know if I'll be taking a big hit to get rid of Salah for Kane this week.
But you said that Kane is the better option long term. I agree, he is.
Yeah.
And you can take a hit this week and get 2 points back. And it just depends what Salah will do at Brighton, and that is in my mind because I predicted goals for Liverpool. Yeah, it's very, very tricky, isn't it? It's I'm definitely getting Rashford in for Trossard, and then it's a debate on what to do with Salah.
Yeah, because then it's either Salah, De Bruyne, or the hit.
So Salah goes anyway. Salah goes anyway.
Yeah.
So does Salah go in a -4 for De Bruyne, or do I get Mahrez in and do a -8 and get Kane in for Mitrovic because I want Kane long term? And then basically Mahrez goes to Odegaard the following week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, when you put it like that, it sounds...
Well, he can't actually, because I've got White, so I can't do
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh, that's annoying, isn't it?
Ben White is so frustrating.
You were so close. So close.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we haven't spoke about this. The 4 yellow cards for Kane. Now, we got absolutely burnt. Well, you didn't, but I did. Burnt by Mitrovic. Do we factor that in? That probably does sway me, actually.
I think you have to, right? Because the first game is against Arsenal, which is that's going to be. There's no Spurs are not going to want Arsenal to win that, especially Kane. Like, he's going to be the one player. You know, if Arsenal go a 2-3 goal lead up in that, he's going to be livid. He's going to be putting challenges in all over the show. Yeah, I mean, I forgot about that. I deliberately didn't get Mitrovic because he was on 4 yellow cards. And I think taking a big hit for Kane when he has the potential of doing the same is too much. So yeah, I think that's really good from the chat. It's almost like they should be doing the pod.
It wasn't Billy. I don't think it was now. I did put it up on screen there. So it was B Mac. B Mac said, yeah, don't forget the yellow card. And Andy Mac says, Kane likes a yellow card in North London Derby. He certainly does. Almost as familiar now as he likes a goal in North London Derby. Yeah, that will probably be enough to put me off doing the Kane move. So then do I do Salah to De Bruyne, or do I just get White out for a City defender, play that City defender, and then that frees me up to get Odegaard in because White has gone? That is probably what I'm still going to do. Yeah. And I'll go without KDB and I'll back Salah at Brighton.
Yeah, I think that's what I do. I think that's what I do. But I can see the logic of the others, but I think that's what I do. Yeah, because you're freeing up that spot to get. But then you've got Saka. I don't know, tricky.
Yeah, but those 3 are. I mean, Arsenal will score. They're going to carry on scoring goals, I think. They like City are going to get into a results business mode where they're happy to win 1-0. But I just don't think Arsenal are as good at shutting up shop as City are. Grimsdale's got a mistake in him, hasn't he? You know what I mean? If you're Arteta, you don't go, let's just win 1-0. Whereas if you're Pep, I think you do. I think you're happier keeping the ball. Whereas Arsenal, they're showing more of that. They are looking like a team who can just manage a game out, which I didn't expect. But they're not quite at the level that City can do that, I wouldn't have said. So I don't think they can sit on a 1-0. Do
you think they're going to win it, Arsenal?
Yeah, I do.
So do I.
Yeah. If Arsenal win the league and Forest stay up, I don't care about my rank. That'll be one of the best seasons ever.
And Brighton get Europe.
No, that's not part of it at all.
You can't even just give me that, can you? Can't even just give me that.
Shame we're not ending on that. We'll end on something else. Black Box Leagues. I looked, and Ross, I think, is 21st in our Black Box League. So he's still not out of it. He's still in the shout of getting in the top 10 and beyond.
He's having a meltdown on Twitter today, asking about 1 million questions, which I
I saw that. Yeah. Chris Glover is 12th, so good luck, Chris, in pushing back into the top 10. But Hayden Gray is top on 1254. Then Abby Jew 1243 and Andrew Shaw 1243. So what's that? 1212. Very, very tight. And Andrew in the chat, there he is. That's me.
200 points ahead of me. 200 points.
No Mbumo is called that team. Very good name, Andrew. Very good to see you in the chat. Thanks for supporting chat and well done on a fantastic season. That brings us to the end of the show. All there's left to say is
give the video a like, hit subscribe.
Yeah, that's exactly. Get a professional in to do that. Give us a like and hit subscribe, as Andy says there. That's another 50 quid in his tray there for that little tip there. There's 1,400 in chat or live watching. Yeah, it's really good. It's been really good to see you in there. And we're very grateful for the support and the likes and subscribes. If you're new around here, as Andy would say, hit the subscribe button. If you're not and you've subscribed already, hit the like button.
Bloody hell, Mark.
It helps. I'm well into it. The thing is,
the mad one with this. Love it.
Give the video a like, hit subscribe.
When I went and got that, I spent about half an hour watching Andy's videos to find the best sample of him saying that.
Oh, that's commitment.
And that meant that I did a lot of studying of how he said, hit subscribe, get likes. And in doing that, I picked up some tips. And now I know. Damn you.
It was all going so well.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for everyone in chat. It's been having you in there. Delia and Billy doing their stuff and Andy Mack doing their stuff as moderators in the chat. Thank you very much for that. I think we should do another deadline stream because I thought that was a roaring success and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'm well up for that. But I am away. I'm on holiday. I'm going on a backpacker tour of Mexico.
What are you, hold on.
Midlife
What are you
crisis,
like?
maybe.
20 in a gap year? What are you doing?
It's
Backpacking
funny.
around Mexico? I'm sorry.
I
No,
know.
middle-aged men don't do that kind of thing.
I know. It's funny because I'm staying in hostels, but like it's like there's options. It's like, do you want the 16-bed mixed dorm? It's like, absolutely not. It's like private accommodation with a jacuzzi. It's like, yes.
Oh, well, that's just cheating. You're not even doing it right.
I know, completely cheating. Anyway, that's not just me bragging about my holiday. I am not here next week. You will be with Luke.
Yeah, Luke's going to drop in, and it'd be fantastic to have you in the stream. I'm not sure how he's going to react to the likely Manscaped ad that we'll be doing. So
Honestly,
that's going to be worth tuning in just for that.
It is worth tuning in to hear Luke talk about shaving his balls. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he might be having a very algorithm-driven season, but we don't know yet about his pubic hair habits, do we? So we're going to find out next week. Tune in for that. It's a good night from me.
That's the greatest end to a stream we've ever done. Good night, everyone. See you in a few weeks.